Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man da'a bi da'watihi. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani. Masih kepada isi majlis, kepada tetamu kehormat Ahli Zulkifli selaku pengurus negeri Syarif, Cikgu Syamsuddin, YDP Ikram Faham, pelajar-pelajar IIUM Kuantan daripada berbagai disiplin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Juga wakil wami. Okey, malam ni kita bercakap tentang tajuk yang dicadangkan adalah tentang ISIS. Fokusnya adalah ISIS, tapi sebenarnya bila kita bercakap tentang isu Iraq ni, dia ada beberapa pemain. Ya, seolah-olahnya kita ada 7 ataupun 8 pemain dan kita pick and choose one of the 6 or 7 players. Jadi penilaian kita kadang-kadang tak seimbang. Ya. Kerana apa? Kerana media sebenarnya telah memilih apakah isu yang nak diketengahkan. Lalu kita pun tertumpu kepada isu itu. Sedangkan isu yang sebenar, on the ground, realitinya meliputi dan merangkumi suatu yang jauh lebih besar daripada ISIS. So, the media sebenarnya berperanan untuk mencorakkan pemikiran, kefahaman dan juga tumpuan masyarakat. Dalam hal ini masyarakat antarabangsa. Begitu juga media harian kita di tempat kita sendiri. Saya bagi satu contoh. Kes demam denggi dan leptospirosis. Dan saya adalah salah seorang daripada pakar rujuk dalam kawalan tikus, dan setiap tahun memang dijemput untuk menjadi pengulas dan juga moderator kepada seminar atau simposium berkaitan dengan leptospirosis, anjuran Jabatan Veteriner, ya? Iaitu Kementerian Pertanian Malaysia. Tapi kalau kita perhatikan isu-isu yang dekat dengan kita, dekat dengan masyarakat, isu-isu yang berkait dengan hidup mati, life and death issues. Isu demam denggi adalah satu isu yang besar, dan kita tidak pernah mengalami wabak ataupun epidemik seperti yang berlaku pada tahun ini. Ada yang mengangkat tangan? There are international students here. Okay, so you want me to address the forum or the floor in English? Okay, then I have to change my mode of thinking. Okay, because language has a lot to do with the way you think. Yeah? Okay, do I have to repeat what I have said earlier? Yeah. In summary, what I have been saying is the media pick and choose what they want you to know. So I brought the issue of dengue and leptospirosis, which are certainly important issues of life and death. Cases of dengue have reached unprecedented numbers this year. Has never happened before. but it has never made the headlines. Because why? People are more interested with the Menteri Besar crisis in Islam. Okay? So the media, as we say, the stakeholder, simply pick and choose what they think would shape the mentality and mold the public opinion of the society. Now, is that okay? Are you comfortable with lecture in English? Yes. Otherwise, don't call yourself international Islamic university students. Never mind. Okay, coming back to the topic in hand. We are going to talk about ISIS, but I think you will be disappointed tonight because I will only spend a fraction of my lecture, perhaps only 1/5 of my lecture on ISIS. In other words, the title of the lecture tonight is a result of the influence of the media. Yeah? That's why ISIS have been highlighted. But ISIS is just a fraction of the story in Iraq. If you focus on ISIS alone, you will never appreciate what is actually happening on the ground. Okay, so be prepared to be disappointed and to be let down. If you come here just to know and find out about ISIS, because if you do, then certainly you have been hoodwinked by the media. Yeah? Okay, your mentality has been under, what shall I say? Your mentality have been made captivated by the media. Ditawan oleh media. So the first thing that we need to do is free yourself from the shackles of the media. Okay? Can we do that? We must free ourselves from whatever narratives that is portrayed in the media. Okay? Now, I want to start with Iraq. You know how important Iraq is? We can look down the path of history. I want to go back to at least as far as 100 years ago. Now, this year, 2014, is actually the centennial, the 100 years anniversary, or the commemoration of the start of the Great War. It's called the Great War. When it started, the war was depicted as the Great War. And they even call it the war to end all wars, because it was so terrible. The cost in human life is about 30 to 60 million people. See? It's one of the worst war that mankind has ever known, throughout their existence, at least until 1940. But then, after 20 or 30 years, the world was struck by another greater war. That's why they changed the Great War to the First World War, because it was followed up by the Second World War, which is even worse. So the First World War started in 1940. And what we learn in history is so academic. It started with the assassination of Archduke of Ferdinand. It was a conflict between the Serbia, modern day Serbia, and the Archduke of Ferdinand, which is supposed to be the heir apparent of Prussia, which is the modern day Germany and Austria of today. That's how it started, according to the history books, according to the official narrative. But did you know that the First World War was an excuse to remove the Caliphate, Uthmaniyah, who was the superpower back then, okay, together with Germany. And the imperial powers, the Western imperial powers, referring particularly to the British and the French, they want to control the whole world. They want to control the economy of the whole world. And Ottoman, Turkey stood in the way. So Turkey has to be removed together with her allies, the Germans. So if you read the history of the First World War, one of the hot spots, one of the most contested areas where fierce battles were fought, apart from Sinai, Gaza, the Bosphorus, including Gallipoli, yeah, in Turkey, one of the most contested areas that was fought by the British Army was in Iraq. Why Iraq? Because that is where the rich oil reserves are. Kirkuk, Mosul, these are battlefields that was fiercely fought during the First World War. And what is the position? Why is it so loud? Doesn't have to be so loud. I don't have to shout when you want to lay down facts. You want to lay down the facts, you don't have to shout. So please, can you keep the volume down? Who is the technical person here? Suddenly I feel it's too loud. Is it? Huh? Okay? Okay. Okay, this is one. There you are. It's too loud. Can somebody adjust? Where is the technical man? Our handyman. I have these slides just to show photos. I don't have any facts. It was a PowerPoint presentation that was presented by one of our chefs from Iraq. Sha'bi who represented the People's Movement in Iraq. So they came 5 or 6 of them, and we brought them around for a series of lectures in Lembah Kelang. And these are one of the PowerPoint files, which I have removed most of the wordy ones. So you are left with just pictures. So I will narrate based on the pictures shown later. But we need to resolve a more important issue here, the background. So what is happening today? Okay, now it's much better. It's much better. Okay, now the First World War. So the First World War brought about the downfall of the Ottomans. Since I have to deliver the lecture in English, I pronounce it, or I mention it as the Ottoman. If I deliver it in Bahasa, it will be Khilafah Uthmaniyah. So I hope you are not irritated when I use the word Ottoman. Because it is difficult to say Khilafah Uthmaniyah in English. So Ottoman is a Khilafah Uthmaniyah. Okay? Okay. So it brought about the downfall of the Caliphate of the Ottomans. And it also triggered or initiated the idea of a Zionist state in Palestine, which was actually designed, planned, and executed in the House of Commons, in the Parliament in 1970. So the Zionist agenda was revealed and successfully executed during the First World War. And Iraq was one of the prized possessions of the British. Now, I don't want to spend too much on that. Let's move on to the Second World War. Just to show how important Iraq is. Now, the Second World War, which started in 1939, there are major theaters. Theaters means the fronts where war was ravagely fought. The Asia Pacific, and then Western Europe, and North Africa. North Africa was one of the important theaters of the Second World War. Fierce battles were fought in Egypt, and also Libya, Tripoli, Al-Alamein. And Egypt was not the objective. Egypt has never been the objective of the German army. It was, the German army was on the way to somewhere else. But they have to fight their way across North Africa in order to reach their real objective. What is their real objective? I'm talking about the German army now. Iraq. The rich oil fields of Iraq, and Kirkuk, Mosul. And did you know that Iraq now has the fourth largest proven and uncharted oil reserve in the world? Fourth. After Saudi? No, actually the third. Third or fourth. Never mind. Doesn't matter. Third or fourth. After Saudi and Canada. Now we're talking about oil reserve. Oil reserve maknanya apa? Simpanan. And these are proven. It is not based on unfounded claims, but these are actually proven, scientifically proven. Iraq is one of the richest oil reserves in the world. So Germany was on their way to Iraq, but they have to fight their way across British territory or British colonies, Libya, Egypt. And so was the German advance in Russia. They lost 1 million soldiers in Stalingrad. You know the Battle of Stalingrad? There is a movie recently. They show a movie, the Battle of Stalingrad. It's one of the most savage battle in the Second World War was fought in Stalingrad. About 900,000 to 1 million German soldiers perished. So Russia was not the objective. What was the real objective? Iraq. So there was a two-pronged attack. One coming from the north through Russia, the other through North Africa. In order to reach Iraq, they have to fight their way across the Russian territory. The Red Army, they have to fight their way across British colonies in North Africa. Now, from the east, the Japanese army. The prized possession was not Semenanjung Tanah Melayu and Southeast Asia, because they continue their advance and onslaught to Burma, the present-day Myanmar. Fierce battles were fought in Impal, Kohima, Mandalay, Rangoon. Because the objective is, after Myanmar or Burma is India. And India is at the doorstep of Iraq. So the Germans and the Japanese were planning to meet somewhere in the middle. And where is that? Iraq. Okay, now, looking at the history of the First World War and the Second World War, we'll appreciate the precision of Iraq to the world. And even if you go further back in history, Iraq, which was traditionally or classically known as Mesopotamia, was the cradle of human civilization, because it has one of the richest valley, Furat and Dijla, the Euphrates and Dijla. Okay? And it is the cradle of prophethood. Where did the patriarch Ibrahim alayhi salam came from? He came from Mesopotamia, which is the present day Iraq. So whenever you mention the Levant, Bilad Sham, when you mention Al-Quds, okay, Al-Quds is Ardul Anbiya, the abode of the prophets. All 25 prophets were there. They were born, they conduct the mission of prophethood, and they even depart from this world in that place. But the origin of prophethood, beginning from Ibrahim alayhi salam, was Mesopotamia. Okay, brothers and sisters, we don't want to dwell too much on that. I just want to establish the importance of Iraq from the historical perspective. Okay? Okay, now, after 100 years, of the start of the First World War, the British government today announced 2014 as the commemoration or the centennial. Centennial means 100 years. They remember this year as the centennial of the First World War, the outbreak of the First World War. And by coincidence, whether by design or by accident, 2014 was also declared by the United Nations as the year of solidarity with the Palestinian people. Okay, the United Nations, prior to 2014, prior to this year, did announce the Solidarity Day with the Palestinian people, and that has been on the 27th of November with the conclusion of Resolution 181 that brought about the partition of the Palestinians into the Arab areas and the Jewish areas, which initiated the first Arab-Israeli war in 1948. You know the history. And the outcome was the Nakba. You don't have to repeat this. And remember, when the war broke out in Europe, French and the British declared war on the Caliphate, on the Ottomans. On the 5th of November, if I'm not mistaken, that one you can Google. Because a speaker, if he's not sure about the date, he just say it. But it's around that time. The 5th of November, if I'm not mistaken, the French, the British, and shortly after that, the Russians declared war on the Ottomans. And 5 or 6 days after that, Khairi Effendi, the Qadi, the Qadi of Istanbul, was given specific instruction by the Khalifa. Who was it? Who was he? It was not Sultan Abdul Hamid II, the one that comes after him. And he issued an edict, a fatwa, Jihadi Akbar part 1. So when the Germans and the French declared war on Turkey, on Ottoman, the Ottoman answered back with the declaration of jihad. And it is compulsory for Muslims everywhere, especially those that came under the French and the British rule, including the Malay Peninsula back then. It is an obligation for every single person, the Muslims, women, men and women, to rise against the colonial powers. They have to wage jihad, whether openly, by taking up arms, or secretly or discreetly, by planning or executing sabotage activities of the British and the French interests all over the world. And that is the reason why Tok Janggut in Kuantan fought the British. And it's no wonder that the people of Pasir Putih, Kuantan, waged jihad against the British in 1915. Right after the British and the Australians were defeated in Gallipoli in Turkey. So in other words, 2014, when the British government declared this year as the commemoration in remembrance of the outbreak of the First World War, we are going to declare this year as the commemoration of the declaration of Jihad Akbar part 1. That's why I say, whether it is by design or by accident, if we look from the global perspective, and this is one thing that is lacking in our appreciation of history, we tend to look at history from the local perspective. Now, when you look from the global perspective, then you will see Tok Janggut is actually answering the call of the Caliphate in Istanbul, Jihad Akbar part 1. And the same call was answered by the British Army, the Indian Army in the British contingent, the Muslim Indian Army, who took up arms and fought their own army in Singapore, which resulted in the bloody Dahagi sometimes in February 1950. Because they are supposed to be sent to the Middle East, and some of them were destined to be sent to Palestine to fight the Ottoman army. So they refused, and they fought against their own army in Singapore. The defense of Palestine took place, and blood was shed in the defense of Palestine in Singapore. But the Dahagi, or the resistance, was put down by TSN, Timbalan Setia Negeri. You know what is Timbalan Setia Negeri? The private army of the Sultan of Johor. Nanti kena Sedition Act pula. Macam Ustaz Wanji. I'm talking facts, historical facts. Yeah? Okay, so let's put the Iraq issue in perspective. It is a jewel. Iraq is a jewel of the Ummah in terms of resources, in terms of strategic importance, in terms of the origin of prophethood, in terms of the cradle of civilization. Now you see the importance of Iraq. So that is lesson number 1. And lesson number 2. Let's talk about the conflict that is happening today. So